will call it a rebirth with a new dimension. Others will simply call it progress in a different light, to put Georgetown as the example for the rest of Guyana of what ultimately can happen throughout this nation as part of President David Granger's Green Initiative. What is the it that I'm talking about? The it really is fixing Georgetown and the traffic congestion. In many ways, there are many other possible positives that can happen as a result. And making that possible is a man who hails from Guyana originally, in Georgetown to be exact. But now he's twinning his abilities with that of a company in Mexico, Smart City Solutions, to make sure Georgetown joins the boat of being a progressive city with the introduction of traffic meters in the capital. Ifa Kamau Kush,
Yes,
you
sir.
are a Guyanese,
Yes, I am.
but you're a businessman who is thinking smart
Absolutely.
and joining the train that the president spoke about, of making Georgetown into what it should be, clean, green and pristine.
Absolutely.
You're the director of Smart City Solutions. What is Smart City Solutions, first of all about? And what is it that Smart City Solutions is bringing to Guyana?
Smart City Solutions will be installing and operating parking meters on the streets of Georgetown. The parking meters will essentially enable the city of Georgetown, the city fathers and mothers, to control the flow of traffic into the city. A recent Economist magazine's report concluded that anytime on-street parking meters are introduced into a particular jurisdiction, the carbon footprint of that jurisdiction is reduced by about approximately 33%. And that is precisely what we will be doing here in the city. The meters will accomplish several things. The most important accomplishment will be the creation of jobs. We're talking about a minimum of 100 jobs that will be created as a result of the introduction of this project.
What exactly?
Enforcement, executive jobs, IT jobs, management jobs. The non-executive jobs, those are the enforcement agents and the lower level non-executive jobs, will be unionized. The pay scale will be way above minimum wage, and they will be entitled to benefits, medical benefits, etc. That's the first benefit that will accrue to the citizens of Georgetown and to the city of Georgetown. The second benefit will be the reduction of congestion in the city. Because typically, when a project like this is introduced into a particular jurisdiction, some drivers, some commuters, choose not to drive into the city because they do not want to pay. And in so doing, they choose to perhaps carpool, ride, walk, or whatever. And in so doing, that's one less car, or two less cars, or five less cars, or 10 less cars into the central business district.
Ultimately cutting off the congestion that normally happens.
Absolutely. And in reducing congestion, pollution is reduced. And in reducing pollution, the carbon footprint of our city will be reduced, which of course is consistent with President Granger's vision of a greener and cleaner city of Georgetown. But then in the reduction of congestion, what will happen will be the elimination of gridlock. If you know, if you drive in the middle of the day, during the working hours at Republic Bank, that intersection there at Robb Street and Water Street, it's an absolute nightmare. Once this system is introduced into our jurisdiction, that type of gridlock will be mitigated significantly.
Well, we've got more information regarding exactly why it is important for Georgetown to have those meters that are going to be here shortly. The date in terms of the time frame expected for the meters to be in Georgetown and the mapping which is started, you'll hear about when we come back. Stay tuned. Thinking smart, being smart and doing the smart thing that is right for the capital city is important. We did promise you that when we come back we'll be talking about more stuff to do with the introduction of parking meters in the capital city, that's Georgetown. We're talking with Ifa Kumar Kush, the Director of Smart City Solutions. Mr. Kush.
Yes, sir.
Now, we're talking about a major investment in Guyana. How much are we talking about?
The initial phase will be looking at an investment of north of 10 million United States dollars. It's about 2 billion Guyana dollars.
And aside from earlier you had said the employment of at least 100 people more for enforcement as well as administrative jobs and so on, you have also the other part of it, which is getting rid of the, we said, reducing the carbon footprint by at least 30%. Now, let's deal with, you did some mapping already because you started.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Now, what is the mapping thing about?
Essentially, our engineers came down here. They flew in from our headquarters in Mexico City, 3 of them, and essentially they mapped every street on which we proposed to install parking meters, every single street. They were here for about 10 days. They were here for about 10 days, and as a matter of fact, the last 2 engineers left today. And so they mapped every street to determine volume of traffic in the proposed streets and the occupancy levels. In other words, from 7 to 8, what type of occupancy we're going to have? 10%, 20%, 30%. From 9 to 12, we're going to have 80%, 90% occupancy. Those are the types of metrics that has to be put into an algorithm to determine profitability and earnings and that type of thing. That is the reason why I keep saying that the revenues that will be generated for the city will range between $100 million to $200 million in the first year. There is that wide range because we are still mapping out and determining volume and occupancy levels and that kind of thing.
Okay. Now, these these parking meters would have been tried and proven in other countries.
Absolutely.
If you were to liken Georgetown to a city that it has been used in, which city would you liken it on to, and how effective was it?
Well, we cannot compare Georgetown. Our biggest operation is in Mexico City, and we've been there for 5 years, managing about 20,000 spaces. Are we looking at 4,000 spaces here in Georgetown?
What do you mean 4,000 spaces?
Well, 4,000 parking spaces on the streets. So when we're ready to roll out, because we'll be bringing in lots of equipment, the streets will be demarcated very clearly, and they will be numbered. The parking spaces will be demarcated clearly, and they will be numbered. So drivers will, we have a pay by space or a pay by plate system. In other words, when a driver pulls up to a parking meter, he will flash his payment card and deduct whatever, punch in whatever time that he proposes to stay, whether it's 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever. The value of that time will be deducted from the card, and a coupon will be issued, generated by the machine, and then he has to place that coupon on his dashboard, so that when our enforcement agents pass, when the city police pass by, they will look on the dashboard, and if he's in compliance, fine. If he's out of compliance, he will be issued a ticket.
So, just for clarity, I'm the average man on the street. I see these parking meters coming. I see it as a disturbance to me who want to drive around the city. That's what I'm seeing it as, the average man on the street. Explain to me the importance of having traffic meters, parking meters, especially given the fact that this is a developing city.
Well, the importance of parking meters essentially is to control the flow of traffic. In fact, what it's called a parking control system. Right now, there's absolute chaos and dysfunction on our streets. These parking meters will impose a certain level of discipline and order. And now, in so doing, it will mitigate the type of challenges that pedestrians face when they're traversing our streets. This is a public safety issue. Right now, drivers, because of the congestion, because of the double parking, because people park wherever they feel like parking, our streets are not pedestrian friendly. And so the objective here is to, first of all, one of the objectives is to make our streets pedestrian friendly by imposing that order and discipline, so that our pedestrians, our mothers and our sisters and our children can walk the streets without being fearful of being struck by a car.
Ifa Kumar Kush there, the man who is the Director of Smart City Solutions. You are watching a special presentation that gives you information on what is coming to Guyana as part of developing the capital city, which is part of President David Granger's Green, Clean and Pristine Capital City initiative. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll have more from Mr. Kamal Kush regarding one, how much money is in it for Georgetown? Who are the players involved? And how will it benefit you majorly as an individual? You might even be employed. Stay tuned. Smart City Solutions are bringing the traffic meters to, parking meters rather, to the capital, Georgetown. Mr. Kush.
Yes, sir.
Now, some people might be wondering, why is it we're at the 1763 monument as we're talking about something that is about to happen in Guyana? Is it because of the history? And then aside from the history, is it because of some of the things that were dead and you're ready to make Georgetown live again with your project?
I'm not going to get into the history right now. I think what I want to look at is in the 1990s, the 1763 monument was desecrated. Starting from around 1992, the monument was desecrated. There was trash was thrown all over, old cars, old tires. The monument was used as a training ground for our firemen. They would come here with their hoses and just spray water onto the monument, and it was basically disrespected. Now, this monument was unveiled in 1976 by our late President Forbes Burnham to commemorate our 10th independence anniversary. It was designed by the late artist, world-renowned artist, Philip Moore. It was erected to honor the first Guyanese, the Guyanese who struck the first blow for freedom in this country. When it was being disrespected and desecrated, around 1998, latter part of 1998, 1999, I initiated a movement to clean this monument. Because between 1992 and that period, 1998, 1999, there was no water flowing here, there were no lights, just trash and garbage. So in August of Emancipation Day 1999, this monument was rededicated. That's the last time I saw the water flowing here. The lights were here, water was flowing. It was a major public event. And of course, after that, it went back again. The folks, the movement kind of like dissipated, and the monument was once again ignored. Now with this new administration, this new visionary administration, we're seeing here, what we're seeing here symbolizes the rebirth of our city, which dovetails neatly with our parking project. We have a city that's dysfunctional. And as the town clerk says, it is now in transition. And I like to liken this transition to the birthing process. When a woman gets pregnant, she swells up, she has morning sickness, she can't walk properly, it's very uncomfortable, and she can look somewhat unattractive. But once that process is through, that 9 months is through, and she gives birth to that new life, she's back once again to that beautiful person that she has always been. And that's what's happening with our city today. Our city is going through that birthing process, that transition. And once we have our new parking meters in place, once we have the lights once again on our monument, once we have the parks, our beautiful parks, and the potholes are fixed, as a result of the revenues that will be generated from this project, we will have a brand new life, a brand new city again, the one that I recall growing up in when I was a little boy.
Sounds like a lot of history there, and you're part of it, and you're bringing some more history. That's the historical part of it there. Now, what are some of the benefits that will be derived from these parking meters in terms of $100 million upwards per year? To do what?
To fix our parks, to beautify our parks, to fix the potholes in the street. There's in today's Stabroek News, there are two major headlines, right, on the front page. One, residents of one of the areas on the East Coast are complaining about potholes, and then below that there's a headline about the parking meters. Now, there's a nexus there. The only way that potholes can be fixed, parks can be beautified, health centers can be built, daycare centers can be built, the drains can be cleared. The only way that can happen is if the city generates revenues. There is no other way. Many of our people travel around the world and marvel at the great cities of New York and London and Toronto and Singapore City. The beauty that we enjoy in those cities, it's not magical. There's a direct connection, there's a direct link in those cities between revenues generated and amenities delivered and services delivered to citizens. And that is precisely what this project will do. It will provide a brand new revenue stream to the city of Georgetown, which the city will in turn use to beautify our city and transform the city once again into the garden city it once was.
Not only transform, but back to what it was.
Absolutely.
But beyond that, we would say revolutionize what was already there as the garden city to make it more modern.
Absolutely. Well, these meters are 21st century meters. Let me give you a couple of examples. If you, Mondale, you go into Scotiabank, for instance, and you figure you'll be there for like half an hour, so you pay for half an hour of time to park. And it turns out that you'll be there for an extra 45 minutes or so. It will not be necessary for you to leave the line. All you have to do is take out your cell phone, punch in an app, punch in a code, and you pay right there.
That is through the use of the two cell phone service providers?
Absolutely. We have that kind of wireless interface that will be going on. Secondly, and more significantly, and this will be for the merchants and the business people in our city, if Mondale pulls up at in close proximity to, let's say, Demico House, the meter will sense that that's where you've parked. And if Demico House is a participant in our program, the meter will generate a discount coupon that you can take to Demico House and get a discount on your hamburger or on your milkshake or whatever the case might be, or whoever the merchant is.
It's not just about taking back.
Oh, no. It's about giving. And the city will not only be receiving revenues from the parking fees. There are other revenue streams. Advertisements will be placed on the sides of the meters. The city will also share in those revenues. So it's there are multiple points, revenue points, that in which the city will be a part.
Okay. Now, how can people make contact with you if they need more information as we're about to close off this feature here? How can people make contact with you? Your name is Ifa Kamau Kush, and for the record, Mr. Kamau Kush, just for the record, let them know that you're Guyanese.
Oh, of course. Died in the world, 100% Guyanese, born and raised here, socialized in this country.
Before moving abroad?
Before moving abroad, let me kind of I left for the United States in 1979 to study. I returned in 1985 after earning my master's degree, and I worked here. I worked in Guyana in 1985. Shortly after the death of our founding president, Forbes Burnham, I left again to pursue PhD studies in the United States. And then I returned around 1991 to pursue entrepreneurial ventures in Guyana. Actually, I returned in 1989, 1990. At that time, the president was Desmond Hoyt, to pursue entrepreneurial ventures in the country. After Desmond Hoyt lost the elections in 1992, I remained and attempted to continue this. That is why in 1995, I submitted a proposal for this parking project to the City Council then, which was approved in 1996. But the government at the time did not sign off on it. And so it remained in abeyance for 20 years. Once this new government was elected, I resubmitted my proposal, and here we are.
And so Georgetown can look forward to progression from a private investor.
Absolutely.
Who will be adding to the coffers while helping the city to breathe easier. Is that it?
Well, not only to breathe easier, but to breathe cleaner. To breathe cleaner.
Any other thing that you'd like to discuss before we close off?
Well, I think it is important to understand what our well, you have a website, it's on the card, so you can always share that with your viewers. But it's important to understand the track record that we have. Smart City Solutions, as I said, we've been in Mexico City now for 5 years, managing over 20,000 parking spaces. But we're also in Lima, Peru, Argentina, Panama, and Turkey. So it's a company with expansive and extensive experience all around the world. So the city isn't taking a risk here, and more importantly, this project is not costing the city anything. The city doesn't have to pay any money. There's no public money, there's no taxpayer money involved in this project. We are responsible for the entire financing of this project, and the city will receive 20% of the gross revenues off the top. In other words, even if we do not make money, which we will not in the first 3, 4, 5 years, the city will be paid. So, there's no risk at all to the city of Georgetown, no risk whatsoever.
So, for those that are paying rates and taxes, understand that aside from paying rates and taxes, the other thing that will be happening is that the city is going to be benefiting. If you want to know more about Smart City Solutions, then you can go to www.npsgreatcities, that's greatcities.com, and you'll be able to get all the information necessary. We've been talking with Mr. Ifa Kamau Kush, the man who is the director of Smart City Solutions, who is a part of that team that is bringing to Georgetown some more positive development in keeping with President David Granger's initiative to ensure that the city remains clean, green, and pristine through the implementation of what?
Parking meters, on-street parking meters in the city of Georgetown.
There you've heard it. I'm Mondale Smith, encouraging you to get on board. Employment is there for you. 100 people will be employed. You could be one of them too.
Well, the purpose of the demo meter is for our two new employees. We've already hired 2 employees, Tiffany and Tequila, and they will be moving around the city in the ensuing weeks, explaining to citizens of Georgetown how to use the meter. And that's the purpose of the demo meter. So it's here for the time being, but we'll be moving to different parts of the city, the 1763 Monument, the Promenade Gardens, the National Park, areas like that. So that citizens will get an opportunity to familiarize themselves with this new technology.
Okay. You brought the meter for demonstration purposes, yes,
sir.
Right? But aside from that, you still have to wait until those in authority would have reviewed their contract. What do you have to say?
Oh, well, my understanding, based on the statement I heard from Minister Joseph Harmon, is that the government, the cabinet, ordered a review of the contract for quote-unquote illegalities. Well, I would like to assure you, members of the press, that there are no illegalities associated with that contract. So we have no, we are not concerned at all about any illegalities being found.
Now, this investment that you have here, why did you choose to come and invest in Guyana?
Because I'm a Guyanese patriot. When and a nationalist, when I approached my strategic partners and invited them to invest here, and this $10 million investment is one of the largest investments in the city in recent times, in decades. And when I invited them to invest here in the city of Georgetown, they actually had to go to the map to see where Guyana is. But I was able to convince them, and that's my role as a Guyanese patriot and a Guyanese nationalist, is to innovate value, to get investors interested in coming to our country and moving our country forward and contributing to the modernization of our country. So that's why they're here. They could have gone anywhere, and they're everywhere, in Mexico, in Panama, in Peru, in Turkey, etc. But I was able to convince them to come here.
Have the rates been reconsidered?
When you say reconsidered, what do you mean?
Well, if you had announced previously that was $125 every 15 minutes.
Oh no, I never announced that.
Yes,
that was a misnomer. I never announced that. But anyway, there's no need to. I don't want to get into that. $500 an hour was never on the table. It was never on the table, and I've announced publicly before, and I'm going to do it again, that the $500 an hour rate that has been bandied around for the past several weeks is incorrect. It's a falsehood.
So no rate has been set?
It hasn't been settled as yet.
But the likelihood of a rate being set, what ballpark area are we talking about?
We're looking at approximately $250 an hour.
Aside from that, just for clarity, Is this a project to help the city or to fleece Guyanese, more so people use in the city?
There's no fleecing going on. The city of Georgetown will receive 20% of the gross revenues. And then the central government will receive 16% VAT. So in effect, what we will be giving up is 36% of our gross revenues. The city and the central government will not be paying anything. They have no investment, no stake in the outcome here, other than collecting revenues. We have everything to lose. We'll be responsible for all of the overhead. We'll be responsible for the software, the hardware, the installation, everything we'll be responsible for. The city of Georgetown and the central government will have no financial responsibility at all in the installation and operation of this project.
So what encouraged you to take that risk?
As I said, I'm a Guyanese nationalist and I'm a Guyanese patriot. And I submitted this proposal 20 years ago. It is something I always wanted to do.
Okay. Now, the other part is, just for clarity in relation to this project here, you're investing $10 million.
For starters.
For starters. Are there other projects or spin-offs?
Yes, Smart City Solutions. We're involved in smart city development. So we're looking at, for the city of Georgetown, street lighting projects. In fact, we are preparing to engage to put out a pilot project in the city of Georgetown. We have not identified the areas as yet, but one area that we're looking at is the Starbuck Market Square to install smart lighting. The smart lighting we're talking about is the light senses movement below. And so if there's a lot of movement, the light will brighten, and if there's not a lot of movement, the light will dim, and which conserves electricity and conserves energy. And that is consistent with the government's and the president's vision of a greener and a cleaner Georgetown. We're also looking at some renewable energy projects, and that's all down the road. That's in the medium and the long term, and hotel development. I think it's important to understand, because there was some confusion as to who's NPS and who's Smart City and all of that. NPS, it's a company that I founded 20 years ago. It's incorporated in Georgetown. I formed a joint venture with Smart City Solutions, which then absorbed NPS. Smart City Solutions is a subsidiary of, as you can see down here, if you take a look down here, it's a subsidiary of Operadora de Estación Nona Bicantenera. This is the parent company of Smart City Solutions, and this is the company that is headquartered in Mexico City. So folks who went to New York looking for some sort of a hole in the wall, they wouldn't find it, because that's not where we're operating out of. We're operating out of, the parent company is operating out of Mexico City. And out of Mexico City, they move into Panama, Argentina, Peru, and now Guyana.
But the business card would have had that address.
I'm sorry?
It's 387 South Park Avenue, New York, Manhattan.
I'm going to repeat what I just said. NPS is no longer an entity that's operating this parking system. The city of Georgetown signed a contract with Smart City Solutions. NPS is a shareholder in Smart City Solutions. Smart City Solutions is a subsidiary of Operadora en Estación Bicantenera, which is based in Mexico. And that's what you need to run with right now. Anything else that you're running with is simply a journalistic prestidigitation.
Okay. Now, the other thing is, you say you're providing jobs that I don't understand.
Oh, well, we have already hired 2 employees. Tiffany, Tequila, all right? But in addition to the direct jobs that we'll be generating, there will be indirect jobs. So for instance, the contractor who will be installing these meters, because these meters will not be based on something mobile like this. The foundation has to be dug, the foundation has to be laid. And we're looking at about 450 of these. So that contractor will be hiring his own employees. The contractor who will be painting the signs, the no parking signs, the hours, that kind of thing, he will also be hiring his employees. So there's a multiply effect with regards to this project. I have encountered some people who feel that our young people the young people of Guyana ought not to be caught up in working in a project like this. One gentleman told me, well, not only a private citizen and an elected official suggested that young people in Guyana should be satisfied with cutting grass and cleaning the drains. And I found that suggestion and that proposal outrageous. I grew up at a time in this country where, as a young person, I was ambitious. We all were, my generation, and we were aspirational. And we were given opportunities to realize our ambitions. We were given the opportunity to optimize our experience in this country. And for people to suggest that our young people should only be relegated to cutting grass and cleaning drains, that's outrageous. I cannot understand how we could have climbed down from such pinnacles of excellence in this country to the point where we feel that our young people only deserve to be working, cleaning the drains and cutting grass. That's absolute nonsense. It's absolutely outrageous. And what we are here to do at Smart City Solutions is to create an opportunity, create opportunities for our young people to optimize their experience in this country, to realize their ambitions, to earn enough money to take care of themselves, to take care of their families.